Hello everyone. Today I have a very special guest from United States. Her name is Lia Soorenian and she's studying environmental studies at Bard College. She came to Armenia recently to implement an eco project with Pan Armenian Environmental Front. Hi Lia, thank you for being here with us today. Can you tell us a little bit how you joined Pan Armenian Environmental Front? How did you hear about them and what actually motivated you to join the group?
The Pan Armenian Environmental Front came to the US to show their environmental documentary film, and that's how I heard about them. I actually didn't get a chance to see the screening in New York, but I heard about them from a friend and I was very interested in their projects. Being an environmental and urban studies major, I took interest into their work and decided to join them and see how I can help.
What do you think is different about Pan Armenian Environmental Front that grabbed your attention and you showed interest to spend your summers in Armenia with them?
This organization is unique in that they are tackling very heavy political issues, and that's what really interested me. And I think that mining is an immense issue that needs to be addressed, and it sounded very urgent, so that's why I took so much interest and was very dedicated in it.
Recently you were part of the eco project that was implemented in the village of Lichk in the Syunik Region. What was the purpose of the initiative and what were some of the participants? How did you guys end up choosing the participants? And also, many people might ask, how did you get $10,000 and where did you get it? Where did the finances come from? That's always a question that's asked by a lot of people. So give us a little bit more information on that.
I applied to the Davis Projects for Peace, which is a foundation that gives students $10,000 to implement some kind of a peace resolution project. I decided to be involved with the PAEF, and we got the money to do a beekeeping project. And this project is a sustainability apiculture project against the mining industry. We believe that if we choose 7 families from the village of Lichk, we will actually be able to empower the community and give the residents some alternative type of income to keep the mining industries out of their village.
What was special about this project? What is one thing that stands out compared to other projects that are implemented in Armenia?
This project, although it was kind of a microcosm of the entire whole problem of the mining issue, I think it was unique in that it addressed the issue directly, in that it empowers the community to really fight against the mining companies. If they don't want the companies to come to their village, then they will have some kind of economic power to voice their opinions.
How were the families chosen? From my information, there's more than 30 families who permanently live in Lichk. Now, how did your team choose the 7 families out of the 30 or so? What was the process that you guys went through and the steps to choose the families that were right for apiculture?
So we actually went door to door to each and every family in Lichk and did a type of Q&A with them, and some of them were very interested in taking up the beekeeping job, and some of them were not interested at all. So we tried to choose families who were passionate about it and dedicated to the work, and we kind of chose to give the work to women so that they could be involved in the income aspect of it.
Now, it's rare to see diaspora Armenians coming and working with activists. To you, what does it mean to be an activist? And why is it important to work along with other activists that are involved in this cause?
To me, being an activist is the responsibility of every citizen. I think that being part of the society, you have a voice, and it's very important to be able to express those ideas and thoughts to be part of the whole democratic process. I think that activism should be taken very seriously because it could be used as a tool to contribute to the public sphere, and we can all prosper as a society through political and social change.
We've talked about it in the past, your involvement in the Occupy Wall Street movement, and how you told me you went to jail in New York for one day. Tell us a little bit more about that experiences and any other previous experiences you've had with movements or activism that really built your foundation for this work in Armenia.
I started activism in college, actually, and I was always interested in politics. I would always read the news and follow the contemporary news and events. And I was also involved in environmental activism in college, and I really think that by organizing and being involved in grassroots organizations, you really have the power to bring the change that you want to see.
From these experiences that you just discussed, what are some skills that you learned, and what is it that you took away from it that you can apply in Armenia?
The skill that I learned was communication, so how to communicate either through the media or from person to person, and really organize and come together to effectively bring forth our issue that we're trying to address.
Give our viewers a little bit of information about Occupy Wall Street movement. What was it about, and is that movement at all relevant in Armenia? Are there parts of it that also apply to Armenia's reality today and what we are trying to do and the changes that we are trying to make?
There are definitely some similarities that I see from the Occupy movement to activism in Armenia. The Occupy Wall Street movement started in the fall of 2012, and there was a diverse group of people. There were people from one end of the political spectrum to the other. There were people there who were just tagging along because they were unemployed or angry, but a lot of them were interested in politics and really wanted to fight against corporations and the type of crime that they had committed in tax fraud or whatever it is. So in Armenia, although we are a homogenous society, there are many similarities in that there are very different views, or as I've experienced, and at the end of the day, people from different sides of the political spectrum come together to fight for one issue, and that to me is very important, and it's very intriguing because even though we are of one ethnicity, we fight for different things, but at the end of the day we can come together and look at the bigger picture.
What was it like to be in jail in New York? Tell us a little bit about your experience. I'm sure our viewers would like to know.
It was definitely a unique situation in that.
And how did you get arrested? You know, what were you doing at the time, and what was the reason they arrested you? So give us a little bit more on that. I'm curious myself.
It was actually the first huge protest of the Occupy Wall Street movement. And I believe it was October 1st of 2012. And there was 1,000 people on the Brooklyn Bridge. We actually blocked traffic, and by the end of the day, the NYPD decided that every single person on the bridge was going to be arrested. And that night, they took us to holding cells. So it wasn't exactly a jail. We didn't get fingerprinted or anything. It was a holding cell. So because there were so many people, they distributed us into different rooms, and there was maybe 15 women in my 8 by 8 foot cell. So they let us out after about 4 or 5 hours, and the New York Police Department was actually very busy that night. They had to get so many police officers to work at that time, which created a lot of chaos, and I think that by the end we really shook the system and the police and the government.
I know that you are studying environmental urban studies at Bard College in New York. What are your future plans and how do you plan on applying your skills in Armenia?
I focused on urban planning in my undergrad career, so my future plans are to go to grad school and receive a degree in urban planning. And in the past, I worked for Urban Lab Yerevan, which I helped them map the Gon district, and that was an amazing experience. And hopefully, after I go to graduate school, I can come back and implement my skills in urban planning.
What are some issues you see in Armenia related to the environmental issues and urban planning? Where do they come in conflict?
There are definitely some overlaps between architecture and planning and the environment. For example, in our mining issue right now that we are dealing with, there is architectural preservation issues. If there's a historic building such as a church or a monument, then that needs to be preserved because it has architectural, historical, and cultural value. So when it comes to mining, and mining companies are not sensitive to these types of issues that architects are working with. So that's definitely something that overlaps.
You were born and raised abroad, yet you spent many summers in Armenia. What is it that brings you back to Armenia, and what motivates you to become involved in Armenian issues?
Well, being raised in America, I think that I was lucky enough to learn the language and the culture through my parents and my community. So in having been raised in that type of environment, I feel connected to Armenia and the people, the language, the culture, which motivated me to come here. And having previously been interested in activism, politics, and environmental issues, I decided to take up this project.
Now you're a brave girl compared to others your age. What message do you have to youth in Armenia and abroad?
The one thing I would have to say is that if you're passionate and dedicated about a certain issue, definitely start a project, start an initiative that can address the issue, and don't worry about the finances. All it takes is researching and finding some kind of budgeting and take a risk.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here with us today. This is it for our program today. We are hoping Lia will be a great example for other youth in Armenia and abroad. She's one of the bravest girls that I've met, and all of our youth abroad studying at different universities have the chance to apply to different programs like Davis Project for Peace and come to Armenia, implement different eco projects, and become involved in part of the solution that we are trying to find. Thank you and have a great one.